Hey, this is Jonathan here at Polar, and I want to give you a quick overview of Polar. So when you sign up, this is where you end up. This is your document repository view, and as you can see, I already have a couple of files in here. To get started, you can just add some of your own documents that you either want to work with or read later. As you can see, we support EPUBs and PDFs. You can also capture websites directly with our Chrome extension. So once you've uploaded a document into the repository, there's a couple of things you can do with it, right? One, you can track progress. We'll talk about that more in a second. You can do also things like tagging, flagging, archiving. If you're a researcher, we also support advanced functionality such as metadata. Across all of Polar, you can always find shortcuts by pressing the / button. All right, so now that we have the overview here, let's look at a file specifically. So double-clicking opens the file, and our integrated reader allows you to do anything you want to do in a reader. So as you can see, the file opened where I left off. This is by default for any file. Coming back to the progress I mentioned earlier, I've already read this file in the past. You can continue from right there. On the right, we have the annotation sidebar. So if you create a highlight like this, it creates the annotation, and now we have it here. We also have an advanced highlighting feature, which is an area highlight, as you can see here. So this is particularly useful if you have images and other things like that that you want to capture that are not text. Okay, so now that we've created the highlight, there's a couple of things you can do with it. One, you can change the color if you have your own system. Just like with files, you can tag any annotation, you can comment on it, you can also edit the annotation if you want to change the text. And one very useful feature in Polar is creating flashcards. So when you create a flashcard from an annotation, the backend automatically becomes the annotation, and then you can just type in the front end of the card, right? And then creating it, and now you can see the flashcard here. Polar also supports quite a few advanced pagemark features. So as you can see, the blue outline here is the pagemark that I've created. You can label the page mark. You can also create various kinds of page marks. So for example, this one will just create it from the very beginning of the file to where you currently are. If you use this one, this is more useful if you're reading like a large file and only reading one specific chapter. You can, for example, say only from page 5 to where I am right now. Okay, one last point in the reader. At the top, you can also manage the file just like you can do it in the document repository. Tagging, archiving, flagging, and a bunch of other things. The last thing is this file doesn't have an outline. It's a short PDF, but if you have a book in here, you would see this right here. You can pop it open and close. Again, as a reminder, / shows you all the keyboard shortcuts that we have. So the last thing I want to quickly show you guys is the annotations view. So all the annotations that you create and all the highlights that you create end up here, whether it's an area highlight, highlighted text section, or anything else. Just like in a document reader, you can work with the annotations directly here, edit them, you can tag them, create more flashcards, etc. You can also filter them by color, by different types, and work with them or even export them. And finally, we can also review annotations and flashcards directly in Polar here. So when I click, for example, on reading, it shows me the annotations I've created in the past. Depending on how I rank this, easy, good, and again, it will show this at a different point of time in the future. We're using a spaced repetition algorithm, pretty much what you would expect to see in Anki directly. Anyway, this is a high-level overview of Polar. In a subsequent video, I will go into more depth on specific topics, including things like Anki Sync.